Good evening and welcome back to the Hall Zone. I'm your host, Emily Mancusi, and here's what we've got lined up for sports tonight. We'll start in Kansas City, where Rashee Rice returns after more than a year away. Then we'll head to the baseball diamond, where Shohei Ohtani continues to make history in the MLB playoffs. And finally, we'll wrap this segment up on the court with Caitlin Clark, who's redefining women's basketball. Stay with us as we transition into Anchor Point and an exclusive interview with Amy Rosenfeld, the Senior Vice President of Olympic Production, a Seton Hall professional in resident. This is the Hall Zone. Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice is officially back. After a 380-day suspension due to his involvement in a high-speed car crash, the football player returns at a critical point in the season. Rice and the Chiefs geared up for a divisional showdown with the Las Vegas Raiders, where the Chiefs absolutely destroyed the Raiders in a 31-0 shutout. Rice picked up where he left off as he recorded 7 catches for 42 yards and hauled in 2 touchdowns. Rice says he's focused on earning back trust from his teammates and proving he's learned from the past. Quarterback Patrick Mahomes has already expressed his confidence in Rice, calling him an important part of the offense moving forward. Rice and the Kansas City Chiefs will be suited up against the Washington Commanders on Monday, and if he keeps this momentum up, he could be a difference maker. After the break, we'll talk about the WNBA and Caitlin Clark's second season.
My name is Brignola.
I'm Adrian Peck. And I'm Sam Stinson. We're going to be going around Seton Hall asking students what they think the best NFL team is right now, their thoughts on the last Giants game, and their winner for the World Series.
Who am I speaking with today?
My name's Connor.
Connor, who do you think is the best NFL team in the league right now?
I'm from Dallas. I'm going to have to say the Cowboys.
Interesting. Speaking of the NFC, what'd you think about the Giants and Broncos game last night?
I think that the Giants sold. That was a really embarrassing fourth quarter, but they have a good chance this season. I think they can turn it around.
Yeah. Good O-line, just not a good defense performance last night.
Defense wins championships, right? Defense wins championships.
Agreed. And who do you think is going to win the World Series?
Dodgers again, man. It's going to happen. Ohtani's the man.
So who am I here with?
I'm here with AJ. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, man. All right, who do you think is the best NFL team right now?
Best NFL team? That's a tough one. I'm going to say the Giants. They're not the best, but that's my team, so I'm going to go with the Giants. I'm going to have to.
I agree with you, even though after last night. What are your thoughts on that game last night?
Defense is terrible. Please, we need our kicker back. I don't know why we have our reserve kicker on, but I'm disappointed.
Once Graham Gino comes back, it'll hopefully get better. All right, who's your World Series pick?
I'm going with the Dodgers. I'm a Yankees fan, but
Let's talk about Caitlin Clark, the former Rookie of the Year and second-year pro who has taken the WNBA and the rest of the sports world by storm. However, the Indiana Fever Guard's second season was cut short after a groin injury. Even though Clark was sidelined for most of the season, the Indiana Fever managed to reach the semifinals but lost in an elimination game to the eventual champion, the Las Vegas Aces. While Clark's stats did recede, she still averaged 16.5 points per game with improvements to her assists, steals, and turnovers. Beyond the numbers, Clark's impact has been huge. Her games have sold out arenas, boosted TV ratings, and brought in new fans from across the country. The so-called Caitlin Clark effect is real, and it's changing the game for women's basketball in a big way. As Clark put it, I'm just grateful for the opportunity to inspire and compete. While Clark didn't get the season she wanted, the future looks very bright for both her and the WNBA. Over to the Diamond, and what a postseason it has been. Shohei Ohtani once again reminded the world why he's one of the most extraordinary athletes in sports. In his latest playoff performance, Ohtani hit 3 home runs and struck out 10 batters in the same game, an achievement that's practically unheard of in modern baseball. Fans are calling it one of the greatest playoff performances ever, and it's keeping the energy sky high as the Dodgers make back-to-back World Series appearances. Their opponent? The white-hot Toronto Blue Jays, led by Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and George Springer. This is the 3rd World Series appearance for Toronto, and it's looking like it's going to be one for the ages. Stay with us as we transition to Anchor Point, the official debate segment of the Hall Zone. I'm Emily Mancusi, and have a good night.
All right, who am I with today?
Hi, I'm Josh. I'm an ROTC student here at Seton Hall.
All right, Josh. Who do you think is the best team in the NFL right now?
Right now, that's actually I want to say the Bills, but they also just lost against the Falcons. But I'm sticking with the Bills just because.
All right. Thoughts on last night's Giants game?
I don't understand how you hold the lead for 3 straight quarters, like scoreless, and then you lose it all in the fourth quarter. All in the span of 15 minutes is actually like really irritating.
All right. Who do you think is going to win in the World Series?
I'm actually gonna go Blue Jays. I'm hoping the Blue Jays win because I'm from New York. That's close enough to New York for me, so I'm gonna go Blue Jays.
Who am I speaking with today?
Mia Karaslimovic.
Alrighty. Who do you think is the best NFL team in the league right now?
It's got to be the Chiefs.
Big Chiefs fan?
Oh yeah, I'm from Kansas City, so
Fair point. What'd you think about the Giants game last night?
it was rough to watch the kicker, but I liked the game overall.
Very neck and neck to the fourth quarter. Who do you think is going to win the World Series?
I don't know, man. I'm not a betting person, so.
Hello, my name is Christine Franco, and welcome to Anchor Point, the show where we debate the hottest topics in the sporting world. I'm joined by our debaters Gabriel Garcia
Thank you for having me.
and Sam Stinson. Let's get into our first question. Should there be a definitive salary cap within the MLB? Sam, let's start with you.
Well, thank you. I believe that there should not be a salary cap in the MLB. A salary cap, in theory, will create more opportunities for bad teams to turn around the next season and become good. This just doesn't seem to be true, though, in my opinion. The MLB has not had a repeat World Series champion since the Yankees in the 1999 and the 2000 season. The parity seems to already be there in the MLB, just based off championships. Only 5 MLB teams have never won a championship. The NBA is double that, with 10 teams never winning a championship. So the salary cap, in theory, that the people will argue to create parity between the leagues. I just don't think that's true.
I mean, I want to take a look at the Dodgers numbers. I mean, they just killed the Brewers. And the Brewers, I mean, I'm looking right here. The Brewers have almost a little bit more than half of the salary payroll than the Dodgers. The Dodgers, I mean, right now, going into next year, they have a $303.7 million payroll. And it's going up by $20 million the next year, and then another $50 million the next year. The Brewers, 187.4, 190.5. And, I mean, they just swept them. Like, you look at the talent level compared to the Brewers and Dodgers. I mean, you have the rotation of Shohei, Blake, Tyler, Yoshida, Roki, Clayton. Most of these guys, they brought them in with signings. I mean, I know Clayton Kershaw, great pitcher. He was homegrown. But Shohei, I mean, with a $700 million contract, I understand most of it is deferred. But you go to Blake Snell, $36.4 million a year for, I want to say, 5 years. That's a lot of money. I mean, I understand he's a great baseball player, but you look at these guys and, like, you're taking them in, and that's just, I mean, I just see that unfair for other teams, because you go look at other teams, like, they have 1 or 2 closers, guys that throw 100. The Dodgers, I mean, they're breeding flamethrowers over there. These big market teams like New York, I'm a Mets fan, and I want to say there was a period after 2015 where the Mets owners didn't spend a lot of money. And those years as a Mets fan were pretty miserable. They're signing these players that are just powerhouses. And I think that if you're taking away these special players from teams that they grew up in, those teams that followed them are losing interest in their teams now because they have nothing to watch. Their star players are leaving to join their buddies who also make hundreds of millions of dollars on a big market team like LA.
This leads to our follow-up question, which is, how would players' unions react to such a restriction? And do you guys think this could cause another lockout or labor dispute? Sam, let's start with you.
I think it would, actually. The players obviously do not want a salary cap. This is why they shut down the league, as you said, in 1994. Especially in the MLB, the players are the most important part. That's what makes the team. That's why we watch it. That's why it's America's game. That's why it's so entertaining. And I think that they should be getting paid what they are worth. And if they implement a salary cap, they're going to be limited for the amount of money that they make, and it's going to undervalue them so much. Like Shohei Ohtani, we were just talking about it in the sports news. He threw 10 strikeouts, 3 home runs. He's the best player possibly of all time. I think he should get paid what he is worth and not have to be undervalued due to a salary cap.
I've heard stories of players having to pay for their own hotels, travel, and all that in the minor leagues. Having that salary cap is just like demoting that, because they're bringing in players that are already in the MLB into the teams, and the guys under them have no shot. I don't think they're performing to multi-million-dollar levels. We get guys from the 2000s, 90s, 80s, great players, but they weren't getting paid gazillion dollars. The fact that like they're getting paid so much money, but as fans, we complain most of the time that they're not playing up to their worth.
On a fan standpoint, I feel like they want to see those players on their teams. Like, and if with a salary cap, it's just going to disperse the talent between so many different teams. Like, people go to the Dodgers game to see Shohei Ohtani. People go to the Mets games to see Juan Soto. With the salary cap, they're probably not going to get those players on their teams. They're just going to go to different teams that haven't hit the salary cap yet.
But going back to that fact of these players going to other teams, that ruins the experience of fans that are teams of their area. I know in some sports fans like to follow players, but I think baseball is one of like that sport where like if you're born in that area, you were a diehard fan for that team. Bringing these stars to other teams hurts the fan base of other teams, and that also drives down viewership amongst these teams. This is America's pastime. That's the nickname of baseball. Like, they want to focus on their team. But when you get in the media, when you get Shohei Ohtani hitting a home run for this game, and you get another player for another team, it diminishes the value of their passion of a fan base for their team.
Sam, do you have any final remarks about the salary cap?
I don't think any of us want to see a strike again. It's one of the best sports to watch. It's America's sport. I don't think we want to see a strikeout again. We need baseball to keep playing.
I think that's our one agreeing point, is that we need to keep baseball playing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right, on to our next question. Who do you guys think is the greatest UFC fighter of all time?
See, it's a hard discussion to have, not even just for MMA, but for all of sports, to see who really is the GOAT. We've obviously had debates like Jordan and LeBron. It's so hard to tell because there's so many players across so many timelines. But for MMA, it's even harder. So I like to base off who's the MMA GOAT, is who is the most complete fighter. Georges St. Pierre is that guy. He is the greatest MMA fighter of all time. The main reason I believe this is because he has so many backgrounds in wrestling and striking. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. But mainly his fight IQ. His fight IQ is the best thing about him. He always seems to adapt to his opponent's fighting style. That makes it so confusing for him to fight because he's always changing it up and always adapting to his fighter's fighting style. Second most wins in title fights overall. That alone puts him into the conversation as the GOAT, in my opinion. All of these attributes with his IQ is why I think he's the best. To go into the stats a little bit, and his record as a fighter, he's the most control time in the UFC as a fighter. He's the second most significant strike defense, the most title defenses in welterweight, which is one of the hardest divisions in the UFC. He's defeated 6 former champions, some of them multiple times. But what I think makes him stand out in that conversation is the fact that he came back to the UFC after 4 years of not fighting to defeat Michael Bisping in the middleweight division to become the 4th multi-weight champion in UFC history. If you can go across different weight divisions and dominate those weight divisions, that's what I think makes him the GOAT.
The one thing about Jon Jones that impressed me was being the youngest champion in the UFC. I mean, he has a record of 28-1 with 11 KOs, some TKOs. We understand that Jon Jones is a strong guy. He's more of a striker, and also his defense. I mean, you were talking about his takedowns, his control time. Jon Jones has a 95% takedown defense. If you put him up against a guy that is, relies more on his takedown, I think Jon Jones has that defense to counter the takedowns. And I mean, again, if you I know it's hard to debate when there's different weight classes, but Jon Jones started light heavyweight, moved up to heavyweight, champions in both. He has notable wins. I mean, I think one of the first wins I remember watching was Rampage Jackson, when he beat Rampage Jackson. And I mean, he came back. I think he beat Mauricio Rua, if I'm correct. Jon Jones is continuously putting in that work. He started in 2008. Now he's retired. I mean, I think it's still up in the air. He's talked about unretiring, which is kind of funny to me. His strike accuracy, 59. I mean, from what I'm looking at right here, that's a lot more than GSP.
I will unfortunately happily disagree with you. I am one of the biggest Jon Jones haters, mainly because of his use of PEDs. The performance-enhancing drugs that he has used definitely tarnishes his legacy, in my opinion. He's using something that has nothing to do with fighting to get an advantage on his opponent. Use it against DC, use it against Alexander Gustafsson. I really, really hate that. Like, if you have to use something outside of fighting to gain an advantage, that's not fighting.
And I understand with PEDs, the no contest, I think it was to
It was Daniel Cormier, yeah.
Cormier. That was the no contest, and his one loss, his one loss was a disqualification. He's pretty much, like, other than that one loss, he's undefeated, and I think that's pretty impressive in the UFC. I understand it was a 12-6 elbow.
I thought he should have won that fight. I will agree with you.
He should have won that fight. The guy was pretty much down. But I mean, he made the mistake of the 12-6 elbow. I understand that that's
which is legal now.
So. Which is actually kind of legal now.
Thank you for tuning in, and after the break, there will be a SHU TV exclusive interview with Amy Rosenfeld, the Senior Vice President of Olympic Production at NBC. Have a good night.
All right, who am I here with?
Zane.
All right, what do you think is the best NFL team right now in the league?
The Denver Broncos.
They had a great win against the Giants last night. What are your thoughts on that game?
Amazing game, 33 points in the fourth quarter. I love to see it.
All right, and who's your World Series pick?
The Dodgers. Yeah.
All right, thank you, man.
Who am I speaking with today?
DJ.
DJ. Who do you think is the best NFL team in the league right now?
I would say the Buccaneers.
Good pick. Baker Mayfield.
Yeah,
What did you think about the Giants game last night?
I thought the Giants, they were disappointing. They did all that. They had the legacy drive just to blow it away. I just feel like it's disappointing.
Shame with that last kick. Thoughts on the World Series?
I think the Blue Jays are looking good, but I don't know. It's like a toss-up right now.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brianna Beck, and today we have an exclusive interview with Amy Rosenfeld, the Senior Vice President of the Olympics and Paralympics at NBC. So, Amy, thank you so much for coming in today, on short notice especially. It's always good to have you here. So, can you tell us your role in the Olympics and what you do leading up to the event?
Yes, so my role is to ensure that the entire production of the Olympics, and then after the Olympics, the Paralympics, goes smoothly. How we structure the Olympics, what storytelling we do, what sports we put on which networks, which announcers, commentators, analysts we have on each sport, what staff we hire. That all goes into the oversight of the production. And the work really begins 3 years out. I mean, we started working on the 24 Paris Games in 21. And right now, we have the Winter Olympics coming up in February, but we are well on our way working on LA. There's a lot of planning that goes into Olympics. Subsequently, LA 28, planning it now.
And you mentioned storytelling, a big part of the Olympics. How do you prioritize that when you're directing?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, what we're trying to do, there are certainly sports that rate better than others. The popular winter sports tend to be figure skating, ski racing, the snowboard, ski, freestyle events. Those tend to be the really big ratings grabbers. So we do a lot of stories around those athletes. Hockey will be big, both men's and women's. On the men's side, having NHL players participating is a great story and will drive ratings. But our job is really, like, most people don't know who any of these athletes are. Mm-hmm. And in addition, for most of the events, they are wearing helmets, they're wearing goggles, no one knows what they look like, they're in big jackets and pants. And so part of this is just explaining to the viewer who they are and why they should care about them. And for so many of these sports, many people don't participate in them. So there's also an element of teaching the audience what happens in biathlon, what happens in curling, what's monobob. That's always the case with the Winter Olympics, that there will be sports that people have never seen or heard of.
And you have such a great grasp on what the viewer sees, and that's obviously something that's come through years of experience. So how have your previous roles at other jobs helped you prepare for where you are now?
Yeah, I mean, that is, you nailed it. The best producers and directors have been in all of those other roles that support the production. Because when you then are what we call in the chair, producing and directing, you have a full understanding of what it means to do graphics, what it means to do audio, what's the camera person going through, what does it mean to do replay. And so I've always found the best producers and directors have done all those roles, so they know what those folks are capable of doing and how to contribute.
And you mentioned doing all of those different roles. It's a team experience at the end of the day as much as it is in the games, in the production room. How do you ensure such a seamless broadcast with all these key players at the end?
I mean, listen, it's very much like doing a team sport. You have people that have strengths in certain areas and strengths in other areas. And as the producer and director, really the sort of team captains and coach of the whole team, you try to figure out where to position people to be their most effective. And you have to figure out who on your team, you need to, it's all about people management. So who needs a little bit of a hug? Who needs a little bit of encouragement? Who needs to say, hey, come on, let's go? And I think ultimately getting everybody to the other side of the production feeling like they contributed is really when you're going to have the best show, when everybody feels like they're pulling together and you got across the finish line together, everybody contributed. That's a winning recipe.
And to cross that finish line, it takes so many steps in the pre-production phase. So even on day of, how do you prepare and how do you navigate technical difficulties?
Yeah, very challenging. I mean, I think you go into something like the Olympics. We had a situation in Paris. We're based out of Stanford, and that's where all of our control rooms are. So the hub of our Olympic coverage is Stanford. There was an issue during the summer games where a coolant tank in Stanford, which participates in cooling the equipment in our building, failed.
Oh, wow.
Had never happened before. Now all of our equipment is overheating, and we were going to lose the building. And so we ended up, fortunately, we had put in a redundancy plan to have places to be able to go. We had a production truck that was in the loading dock that was doing ancillary sports. They were doing basketball out of that truck. We used that to basically air prime time. So that was a good lesson. It had never occurred to us that we could lose the cooling tank. So you go in sort of saying, okay, if we lost this, what would we do? If we didn't have Stanford at all, how would we go on the air? And you put in place all of these positions that could take over if the hub, Stanford, has a problem. The other thing is we had never rehearsed having a problem. Now we will rehearse having a problem. So part of the lead up will be, okay, this just failed. What do you do? Okay, we just lost this. What do you do? And that'll be part of our lead up rehearsals.
And so now you're just mentioning how you learn how to navigate those difficulties and how you get better within time. What's one piece of advice you would have for everyone watching when it comes to having things thrown at you like that?
Yeah, I would say the number one thing is to stay calm. It's interesting. When things start to go wrong, obviously stress levels go up and people start to get a little panicky and anxious and angry and a lot of emotions that won't be effective in getting to the other side. So what really is the best advice is just to take a deep breath, assess the situation, and figure out calmly how to put things in place to solve it. I mean, ultimately, nobody operates at their best out of fear, anxiety, anger. So as much as you need to get things done and there needs to be urgency, it doesn't have to be frantic, and it certainly doesn't have to be like yelling. The most important thing is just to stay calm, assess the situation, figure out what are the most important things I need to do now, in the middle, at the end. In the situation where we, almost went off the air for Paris, It really was, okay, I'm going to run to the truck and the loading dock and we'll move everything there. People are like, oh, that's a good idea. And then someone else said, you know what, we could do X, Y, Z. Oh, that's a good idea. Staying calm is the best way to solve these problems.
Absolutely. You need to maintain that calmness when you're broadcasting such a large spectrum of people.
Well, and also you're leading this whole group. And I always give this example. If we're on a plane and it gets a little bumpy, right? We've got some turbulence. Now you're waiting for the pilot to come on and say something. You want the pilot to come on and say, ladies and gentlemen, we had a little turbulence, everything's under control, we're going to go to this altitude, no problems. What you don't want is for the pilot to turn on his or her mic and say to the co-pilot, oh my God, we've lost everything, we're doomed.
No.
Like, even if we are, don't say it over the speaker,
No.
right? So that's the other key for the producer and director. The whole crew will take their cues from you. So if you are panicked and frantic, same with on-air talent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say stuff's going on. I once did a soccer game where the truck caught on fire.
Oh, wow.
But we're on the air. We're on the air doing a World Cup qualifier. And the announcers, I just said, you know, we're having... we're going to commercial and then you're going to do this, but I would also have this card ready because we might not have a graphic. I never said the truck's on fire, but he didn't need to know that because he can't solve it for me.
Yeah.
And
No.
me saying, oh my God, the truck's on fire, we're doomed. That's like the pilot coming on. I can't help that the engine has, I need him to focus and I'll focus on being a passenger. I need the commentator to just focus on calling the game. He doesn't need the distraction that the truck is on fire.
Because there's so many key factors at play, and so when you're broadcasting like that.
I think you try to be something for everyone, right? Like, so in our coverage of the Olympics, you know, we have a way of covering the big sports. Like during the summer games, basketball was pretty much covered like basketball. But we wanted to ensure that the fencing audience, if they wanted to watch fencing all day, they could watch it. We have great partners in the Olympics, the Olympic broadcasting services. They are what's known as the world feed for these productions. So they are the ones that have all the cameras at each of the events. But for some events, we will add our own NBC cameras if we have specific things we want to do, like we want to focus on the U.S. coach, or we want to do an interview in the hallway, or we want to have a camera on Steph Curry's wife the whole time. So what we try to do is make sure we have basic coverage of everything. And then we sort of identify how can we advance the experience for the viewer with some of our own cameras, primarily doing either access or storytelling or integrating technology to be able to provide insight on replays to a greater degree. So we're always trying to evolve, but our basic tenet is everything must have some coverage.
Absolutely. And with all the, you know, you said you had so much coverage of the cameras. What has been your favorite innovation that you've seen come from production so far?
Okay, so there's something that was developed back when I was at ESPN. And to this day, I can't believe it's not used more frequently. But one time, a whole bunch of us were out at dinner, and we talked about that it was very difficult to really show whether the soccer ball had crossed the line for a goal or not crossed the line for a goal. And we just said, has there never been cameras in the goalposts looking right down the line? Like, oh, I don't know. We could probably do that. So fast forward, we basically bought goalposts, hollowed out holes, used the glass from helicopters in the front. We did one at like, I don't know, I think it was 6 inches, and one was like a foot off the ground. And the two cameras were just looking straight down the line with a little bit of a wide angle lens so they could see like the goalkeeper doing things. We used it on our MLS coverage on ESPN. I thought it was fantastic.
That does sound really cool.
And I ended up buying like 20 sets of goalposts, outfitting these because I wanted to move it to the college game. And then I actually left ESPN and went to NBC, and they stayed in a warehouse somewhere. But I keep saying to MLS, and especially with Apple doing MLS, this is in my mind the definitive camera look of whether it's a goal or not a goal. And I never really understood why it didn't take off. But I would say the way that super slow-mo has evolved, where the resolution is so good and you can really see frame by frame what's going on, to me that has, especially on sports like that are very quick, lacrosse, hockey, the ability to see the trajectory of the puck, that's very important. And the super slow-mo has given the opportunity to really be able to break that down where the human eye maybe can't pick up that it was tipped and then went off to the right.
No, it is really exciting to see all these little details come in to enhance the viewer's experience.
Yeah, and I will say there's some new technology where we are able to, with a normal camera lens, not a super slow-mo lens, the record device, what we call an EVS, is able to actually create a super slow-mo image with a normal camera. That is a big innovation for people that don't have the budgets to upgrade to super slow-mo, but yet still have the technology, the innovation to have a super slow-mo replay.
It's bringing it to a wider audience,
That's
which is
right.
amazing.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amy, for coming in with
My
us
pleasure.
today and gracing us with your presence on our interview. Thank you so much for watching at home. This has been our episode 4 of Hall Zone. Bye.